What's up, junkies? Welcome back to another video. I'm doing a voiceover right now because I suck at documenting things, and things just got complicated, and I was just working with limited time and space, so I ended up just doing a lot behind the scenes. So here you see the bare block on the table. It's upside down because Derick and I are measuring and installing the main bearings. Leading up to this point, we got the block honed and it was in good condition, and I had the head resurfaced, the valves tested, all that, and then we had the crank balanced as with the flywheel that I purchased, competition clutch, and we had the pistons balanced as well. And a little bit of complication with that, I had to go back to the machine shop at least 4 times because they must have put my pistons in like some sort of vice grip or something where they damaged the piston skirts just slightly on every single piston to where it wouldn't even insert into the block without piston rings. So then I had to go get the piston skirts fixed, and then he installed one of the pistons backwards on top of the rod, which I was really happy to catch ahead of time. But anyway, we were just struggling, in other words. So now, like I said, we're just measuring main bearings with plasti gauges and rod bearings and installing those. And right now Derick's holding a thrust washer, which is originally all that needed to be replaced, but you know how things get out of hand. So I hope you guys enjoy this. It's not the best documented process, but I figured I'd just show you guys what we did and just catch you up to speed to where we are now. We didn't film where we actually torqued it with the plastic gauge in there, but as you can see, we're measuring it and it measures out perfectly to the tolerances that are within spec, so that's all good. And then here we're just torquing them down for a final time, where then we move the block to the engine stand so it becomes easier to install the pistons and whatnot. And then we ran into an issue where we have to remove the hardware from the rod and the rod end, which requires an air hammer, which of course ours had actually just broke like a week or so before. So then after that we go over to Derick's shop, where I dick around for most of the time, and we remove the old hardware and replace it with the ARP hardware. Now that we got our oil pan baffle system set up with the pickup tube, I got both surfaces totally clean for the oil pan and for the bottom of the block. Now I'm going to apply liquid RTV all around it, and for some reason on 4 of the bolts, typically you want to go on the inside of the bolt holes when you're doing these gaskets, but for 1, 2, 3, and 4 up front, these 4 that I just pointed at, you want to go on the outside of the hole. Don't ask me why, it's just a per factory service manual. And then after that, we'll get it on there and torque it down to 14 foot-pounds all around. The oil pan bolts are all specific, so I have them all in a cardboard box in order right here, so that way it's nice and easy when I go back and install them. I'm not going to film myself applying the RTV because it's kind of cramped in here. I don't really have a nice spot to get a good view of it, so I'm just going to sit here in my chair, do that, and then I'll pick up when I'm putting the oil pan on to the block. Next up, we're just going to torque down this oil baffle plate just to 5 foot-pounds like the other. Now that I have the baffle here installed, I have these 4 studs for the oil pan that came with it installed. I put a little bit of Loctite on there, and you thread them all the way down as far as you can go. And the reason for those being there is because of this clearance issue, because the oil pan is oversized, right? So you can't just get to that bolt. You got to put the because you'd be trying to drive the bolt upwards right there. So the stud goes through there, and then you just thread a nut on there. These should all be torqued down to around 5 foot-pounds as well. It's not recommended to install while the engine is upside down, just because of these baffle plates, because you don't want them sticking upwards when you install this. You want them to be facing downwards. So that is going to be quite the task for me to do on the engine stand because of the clearance issue and the space issue. So I don't think I'm going to be filming that part. You guys are just going to have to take my word for it. What's going on, everybody? It's been a long time since I've checked in. I've made a lot of progress on the SR. I apologize for not documenting a lot of it. Things happen, and I'm just learning, so a lot of it was just trial and error, taking things back apart, yada yada, buying a bunch of stuff and waiting on parts. So anyway, I'm checking in now because I have the SR fully assembled right behind me here, and it's just about ready to go. I wanted to document this part so that way it doesn't just cut to the engine being inside of the car, because that's just about where we're at. I have to put the new pilot bushing in, get the clutch put on there, mate the transmission, and then I'll just need another set of hands to help me install it into the car. The car has also changed just a little bit. I've put the AEM AFR boost and oil pressure gauge in. Looks really cool. I fixed the dash lights. They weren't working for some reason. And then I got my hands on a set of 96 S14 Sylvia K Aero package seats in immaculate condition. That's pretty cool. Other than that, not a whole lot. Just remove the battery tray so we can run the front mount intercooler piping. I got a small battery to fit in there as well, so I don't have to relocate it. And welded up the rust holes, skimmed coated it with some Bondo and paint matched it, so it looks alright. I mean, it just looks like brand new paint versus 30-something-year-old paint. Whatever, you won't even see it very much. But I'm happy that it's at least in better condition than it was. So my plan for today is exactly what I said earlier, the pilot bushing, clutch, and transmission, and then I'll skip to probably a time lapse of us getting the engine in and then just check in afterwards. So appreciate you guys if you're watching, and stay tuned.